so exciting because Scribner publishes Nick Pizzolatto, the creator of True Detective, and a lot of people have noted the similarities between True Detective Season 1 and the Jeff Davis 8 case. I don't think, actually, that... I think the similarities are really due to the fact that it's the same milieu. I don't think that it's Pizzolatto being inspired by one specific case, but I think it's a very similar milieu. But regardless, it's a very exciting thing to both be able to expand on a piece that was extremely expansive when I turned it in.
Yeah.
And then also to be with a publisher that, did great things with Nick Pizzolatto. So, and people should, if you think the case is sprawling after reading 8,000 words of it, wait till you read nearly 100,000.
Yeah, can't wait to do that.
I did this, somewhat with my first book, a book called Queen's Reign Supreme, which Random House published. But this case is so complicated that I could actually see a gigantic kind of outline of a cast of characters coming at the beginning of the book. The number of characters and that I'm going to explore in the book is just going to be.
And when do you think that book is going to be out? Do you have a date yet?
I don't. My guess would be 2016.
Okay.
You got a title plan for it yet?
I do. Yes, I do have actually a very clear battle plan. I have, as I said, have been doing quite a bit of investigation since the piece came out, and I've also identified a case from Calcasieu Parish in the 90s that I believe is sort of the door opener to this case, which is going to be fascinating to people, I think. And then I've also got new sources, I don't mean individuals or people, I mean actual sources, like, in the sense of like the task force documents that I got for the piece. I have new sources that are witness interviews and whatnot to pour over that are huge, caches of information that I'm going to be able to utilize as well.
Cool.
So it should be really interesting.
Yeah, can't wait to read the book.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about the pair of you, but I'm definitely glad that we got to talk to Ethan, as Joe said earlier, and I'm definitely looking forward to when the book comes out.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think that it's going to be it's going to be a page turner, but I don't think in the sense that I can't stop reading, as in I think I'm going to be turning the pages and then going back and turning the page back and checking, because this is going to be. There's so many players in this, and it's going to be so hard to track. And I think it's going to be absurdly interesting, but just such a volume of information.
He does a great job. His article is really great at succinctly laying out what's going on. It's easy to follow what's kind of going on. In this case, it's just a tangled web.
Quagmire.
Yeah, so it's a bowl of spaghetti, but... Yeah, it's probably one of those books where you want to make notes as you go along, especially names of people and how what their relationships and stuff like that are. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a title because he didn't tell us what the title of the book is. And maybe
he might have done that on purpose.
Yeah, or maybe he doesn't have a title yet. Maybe he hasn't quite decided exactly what it's going to be.
Maybe.
It's going to be Bodies in the Bayou or Bayou Full of Bodies. Or, I don't know.
Well, he's got a couple years to figure that out.
Yeah, he's got a year to go. Well, let's. I just want to know what we haven't really dove into personal theories so far.
Yeah.
We've kind of been relying on the information we've got from Ethan, and we know what we've read. But I want to know what you guys think. I know what my theories are, but
really?
one of you go ahead and start us off. And
got
Joe,
a theory?
You want to? Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Okay, the murderer is drum roll, please. Nicole Jean Guillory.
Sorry.
Nicole Guillory died, or her body was found August 2009. I think she murdered all the rest of them, and then she died apparently of asphyxia, they think. So I think she auto-asphyxiated and threw herself into the bayou.
So you're just going for, you don't have a real idea and you're just making something up.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It could have been the owner of the Boudreaux Inn who was really ticked off that all these women caused so much of a fuss and that his place got closed down.
I think his place would have got closed down regardless.
Yeah, I think so.
From what I can tell.
Yeah, but it's really hard to say. I mean, there are a lot of questionable characters in this town. A lot of them have peripheral involvement in this story, and they're also at the same time involved in the drug trade. So when you're in prostitution, that makes you kind of uniquely vulnerable, right? Then in and of itself.
You put yourself into a lot of bad situations.
Yeah. And then also, but when you're also involved in the drug trade, as most of them seem to be, then that's a whole other layer of motives for murder there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, really hard to say. And of course, I don't want to commit libel or anything like that. So I'm not going to say, and frankly, I don't really know. I mean, there's just so much going on here, and there's no real hard evidence against anybody.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with space aliens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stole my theory,
man. Lizard people.
Sorry.
Joe went with the lizard. Oh no, he didn't go with the lizard people.
Okay. Hang on. I'll let you have. You can have space aliens. I'm going to say it's the same person who did the Hagley Woods thing. The body found in the tree.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Devin, what's your thoughts on this?
Again, just like Joe, I don't necessarily want to commit any kind of libel. I only know what has been published, but in my estimation, I guess, you look for the common denominators, and you've got drugs and prostitution, and it's a small community, and so okay, fine, those are all common denominators. But they're also all tied to this Frankie Richard guy, who I find to be super creepy. And there's been depositional testimony, it seems, to the fact that he has a violent streak, particularly when high and people say no to him. And, I don't want to say it's definitely this person. I don't have access to all the evidence. They're open cases, so there's a lot of stuff that the just general public cannot know.
It's absolutely true.
And, as Ethan said, some people in the task force have said Richard is an informant. He works for us.
Yeah, he is an informant, yes.
It's just one of those cases of, I don't know who to believe, but my gut instinct is to say that it's him.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that's the most frustrating about this, this little TV spot that I watched, and one of the locals said the thing that's most frustrating about this is that somebody knows who killed all these women.
Probably. Or
it may not be the same person. It may be a syndication. It may be a group of people, but at least one person knows for each one person killed.
Yeah, it may be that the murders are not actually all that interconnected, and it might be there is no single one person who knows who killed all those women.
It's true, but, I think...
as far as Frankie Richard goes, for example, he was accused by Tracy Chasson of murdering, along with Hannah Connor, of... murdering Dubois in front of her.
Yeah.
And that was her accusation, and that's why he was charged with that initially. But when you think about it, her story makes no sense, because here he is committing murder right in front of this person. It's like, what it is about Tracy Chasson that makes Frankie Richard and his godniece Hannah Connor believe that they can commit murder right in front of her and it's perfectly okay, and she's not going to say anything to anybody. It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
No, I hate to say, but I think I can answer that question, which is...
He's drug-addled?
No, not at all. Is when you're in a small town. I've seen these kind of communities, and I've lived in these places, as everybody. And hey, can I trust you? Can I vouch for you? I've done things for you, and you've done things for me, and you're not going to say anything, and I'll do favors for you down the line. So you scratch my back, I scratch yours, kind of mentality.
Well,
I don't have the exact way. This would take a long time to suss out, but I think that if you have somebody so scared of you. I mean, think about, let's look at people who are, abducted, and they're so afraid, like kids, they're so afraid of the person that has abducted them that they can brainwash them, is the word I want to use, into saying, don't tell anybody, or I will go kill your mom and dad. That kind of influence over somebody.
Yeah.
So I can see how that may be the reason that if indeed Richard is responsible for this particular murder, I can see how he could have done it in front of her and said, well, you're not going to talk because if you talk, I will come after you.
Yeah, but
then you don't want me after you.
But then she did talk, and she didn't wind up murdered.
She talked. She didn't wind up murdered because a bunch of evidence against him disappeared. Right? I mean, I guess. It's not a solid theory. I'm not saying that I have any kind of evidence.
I can see why.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that I think her story is not entirely credible.
Which is fair.
And there's a lot of
totally fair.
There's a lot of things in this story that don't make sense. And like when we talked to Ethan, is the whole thing about the Chevy Silverado.
Yeah.
Supposedly transporting the body of Lewis, which does not make any sense.
Yeah.
If they murdered her by the canal and she's found in the canal, why they put her in a drum and drive her around and then dump her back in the canal?
Yeah. Although Ethan did say that it's not 100% certain that she was actually murdered by the canal.
Right.
But the whole thing about it is if you murder somebody and transport them around in your pickup truck, then what you do is when you get home, you get out the garden hose and you hose out the back real good, get the blood and the DNA evidence
You
out
and
you don't
I
need that.
and a lot of people understand that, but not everybody thinks about that, especially if not all the cylinders are firing because you're high as a kite on something.
Yeah.
Well, that's
you're on
true.
amphetamines or whatever it is. You don't think about these things.
Yeah, it's
true. If you've ever been around a tweaker, they do some weird stuff because they think that they know what they're doing.
Yeah, that's true. But and then if you have this, one of the things about the truck, it was bought by one of the local cops for a below market price, and then he took it to the car wash and detailed it all out, supposedly destroying evidence in the meantime. Well, if you want to destroy evidence in the back of your pickup truck, you don't need to sell the pickup truck to a local cop to take to the car wash. You can just take it to the car wash yourself.
Except for that person was in jail, weren't they?
Oh,
the owner of the truck was in jail.
Yeah, but I'm not sure how much time elapsed.
I know she'd been, Siler. I know
murder.
she'd been charged, but I don't know that she was in jail at the time. But I mean, this is the problem with this case. There's so many weird loops. Now, personally, I think that some of the murders are connected. I don't think they're all connected because I-10, I think it's I-10 is right there, and so it's a major thoroughfare, and so I think that it's not an uncommon thing to discover that we've got a trucker who killed a woman.
Yeah.
So I think that might be part of it. I think the drug trade is part of it. I think that just weird interconnections. I think this whole thing is a cesspot, and there's a lot of not good things going on. But I also think that in this small community, you're right, as we said before, everybody knows, at least somebody knows, but they all have their reasons for not, I believe the phrase is snitching.
Yeah.
You don't snitch.
Well,
there's a good reason not to snitch, because when you snitch, retribution comes down.
Yeah.
Well, because, and especially in this case, it does appear, as I said earlier, that there is a mole in the police department. The police are corrupt, and I think everybody knows that if they snitch, the cops are going to immediately inform on them.
Yeah, and a lot of these women, as we talked about in the interview, they were afraid to talk or they knew that they had talked and they'd made a mistake and it was going to come back on them.
think just by the sheer fact that I think Ethan said there's something like 20, but there's solid evidence for 11 at least unsolved mysteries or unsolved murders
that are connected
in a community of 10,000. At that point it's clearly a systemic problem. It is no longer just an anomaly of a weird unsolved mystery. There's something larger going on if that high a percentage of murders are just unsolved for a lot of years in a community that small. Because let's be fair, there are other small communities of that size on huge interstates that are drug trafficking havens. It's not, this Jennings is not the only place on I-10 in between Austin and New Orleans, right? Is that what he said, or wherever?
I think Houston and New Orleans.
Wherever. It's not the only small community that's just, inundated with drugs and violence and gang crime and things like that. But they are the only ones that have this kind of murder
on such a scale.
Yeah, and I think
it's the scale.
It is the scale. It's the fact that there is a systemic problem, and whether that is just like pure incompetence and stupidity on the part of the police department there, or if it's something more sinister. That's hard to tell. But I think, I just think that this is just such a messed up.
This whole thing is it's awkward and it's hard to track.
Yeah, Jennings is a scary little town. If I ever go there,
don't go to Jennings.
Yeah, don't go there and try and dig up answers on your own, ladies and gentlemen.
Seriously,
please stay home.
If you go there, pack heat.
Don't pack heat. Just don't go there.
Just don't go there.
Stay the hell away.
Again, as we said before, Ethan's book is coming out next year.
And there should be some more fun-filled facts in there.
And there should be a lot of fun-filled facts there.
He's been doing a lot more research, so you're going to want to read that book.
So when that book comes out and we find out what it's going to be, we will definitely put something up about it. But in the meantime, all of the links and a good spot of the research that we did and we got access to about this story will be on our website. The website, as always, is going to be thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. You can read all the links there. You can find the PDF that helps kind of outline this story for you. And, of course, you can listen to the story there as well. If you want, you can always go ahead and stream the show. You can stream the show on Stitcher. So any mobile-ready device, tablets, phones, whatever they may be, you're going to be able to follow it all there. And, of course, we're on Facebook. And I know a bunch of you have been on Facebook and we're getting comments and all that good stuff and good conversations, which is a lot of fun. And if you haven't done it yet, find us and friend us. And we've also got a group there where there's some discussions going on and things being shared, which is always great.
I liked our page.
I should like our page.
Yeah, I finally did.
Like our page a lot. You can, of course, download, if you don't want to use Stitcher and you don't want to use the website. I know it seems like the majority of the folks, at least over half of you, are using iTunes. You can use iTunes, find us on iTunes, and just download the episodes for whenever you want them. And, of course, last but not least, if you have something you want to tell us, you've got story suggestions, you've got leads for us, you can do that all on our email, which is thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. As a matter of fact, this story was suggested to us by a listener via email.
That's right, Thomas, right?
Thomas, yeah.
Thanks, Thomas.
Thomas, thank you, and at the same time, I kind of regret you having done that because we've just gotten so deep into such a crazy story. No, it was very good, but at the same,
Yeah, Steve's going to go insane.
I really am.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep making infographics about this story until the day I die.
That's probably true.
It kind of might be.
Now, Colonel Mustard in the study with a candlestick.
Is that your answer?
Uh-huh.
Oh, well, thank you, Joe. I appreciate
sense.
that. And before we forget, speaking of emails, we did get an email this week.
We got a lot of emails.
Well, I was going to say, we got an email this week that, whenever I say that, I'm like, oh, this one stood out. I really liked it. I really had a fun time.
Yeah.
So I didn't know who wanted to read the email this week.
I don't care.
I'll read it. This email is from a guy named Jacob. Hi, Jacob.
Hey, Jacob.
Hi, Jacob.
It says, "Hi, I really like your show, and after finding it at the start of a 16-hour drive, I proceeded to listen to 16 hours of Thinking Sideways." I'm so sorry, Jacob.
I said the same thing to him, and he said it was awesome.
Did we keep you awake, I hope? Not put you to sleep?
He says, "It was a great marathon, and I really liked your interpretation of these events. I'm currently working as a scientist, but still fall for imaginative or fantastic explanations for many stories that rather than the logical choices. For example, I read about the Dyatlov Pass incident a while ago. Apparently I can't read today, I'm sorry. and could only conclude radiation and or monsters, which probably makes me a pretty expletive-deleted scientist. Your walkthrough of the story using the avalanche hypothesis makes such great sense. He has, as everybody who emails us, almost everybody who emails us, he has a little suggestion, and he gives us his scientist take on it.
Which was really, really interesting.
Yeah. So is that like Yeti?
No, on the story he suggested.
Yeah. And then he goes on to say, I'd be happy to give you my take on things if interested. Keep up the good work, and I hope you guys are finding